Two heads, one tail, Yang Yin. Two tails, one head, Yang Yang. Three heads, Old Yang. Three tails. Old yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. The bottom trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, solid, or open, whole, whole. This is the trigram. Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants. Whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available, or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. The top trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken, or open, whole, open. This is Con, water. Con is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, which is fire and light, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Xun, wind or wood, above Con, water, gives us the hexagram. Actually, it'd be Con, water, above Xun, wind or wood, wouldn't it be? That would be hexagram 48. Once our bottom trigram, the third line, transforms from an old yang to a young yin, that will give us open, whole, open, or broken, solid, broken, which again is Con, water. Once our fourth line transforms from an old yin to a young yang, that will give us solid, solid, broken, or whole, whole, open. This is the trigram. Dewy, lake or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others, and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. Dewy, lake or marsh above Con, water, gives us the hexagram. 47. Interesting. So our primary hexagram 48 and then a supporting hexagram of 47. We'll get the titles of our hexagrams from the Taoist I Ching by I-ming, written in 1796 while he was a Taoist adept. This I Ching commentary is very alchemical. Hexagram 48 is the well, accumulation of effort to cultivate character, nurturance of others. And then our supporting hexagram 47. They put the evens in after the odds. Exhaustion, refining body and mind. So we have the well and exhaustion. Sounds about right. To understand the question we bring to the I Ching when we consult the oracle, that question having the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time, the answer we will understand when we understand how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. We'll start with Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking the Path, Creating Your Future, which I find to be the perfect little introductory I Ching commentary. I'd recommend it for anyone beginning to read I Ching on their own. Hexagram 48, the well. Key questions. What is the ever-present resource you draw from? What can you do to realize its potential here? Oracle, the well. Moving the city, not moving the well. Without loss, without gain. They come and go. The well wells. Almost drawn the water, but the rope does not quite reach the water. Or breaking one's clay jug. Pitfall. The people of ancient China would sometimes move a whole city to a more favorable site, and they could take everything with them except the well. You can transplant your center and change everything about your life except for the source you draw on to sustain it all. You cannot own this source, nor carry it with you. Whenever you move, you will need first of all to dig a new well to reach it. The well itself is utterly dependable. Nothing anyone can do will raise or lower the water level. People and experiences come and go. Time passes. The well is always the well and does not change. You need never doubt that you have these resources or that they are enough. The real question is whether you have the means to reach into such depths and a steady hand to bring the water up into the real world without loss. To fail would be disastrous. The potential in the situation is undeniable, but it may still be a long way from realization. Image. Above the wood is the stream, the well. A noble one toils with the people, encouraging them to help one another. If you could lean over an old Chinese well and look down through the water, you would see a frame of logs at the bottom, used to retain the silty soil as it was dug. The noble one is as committed and involved in the well as the frame itself, inwardly as responsive as roots, outwardly pouring himself into the work like a flowing stream. The well is a vital shared resource. Everyone must cooperate to build and maintain it. Sequence. The well follows from hexagram 47, confined. Confined in reaching upward naturally means turning inward, and so the well follows. When you cannot reach upward and outward, you turn instead towards an inner source. The clear, life-giving water of the well is only to be found at the bottom of a very deep, dark pit. Our supporting hexagram will put our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Our supporting hexagram is hexagram 47, confined. Key questions. What if you could only rely on yourself? Who are you when you are alone? Oracle, Confined, creating success. Constancy of a great person, good fortune. Not a mistake. There are words, not trusted. The Chinese character for confined or oppressed shows a tree completely encircled by walls, an image of entrapment and isolation. You are cut off and cannot reach out to others. The great person finds good fortune in constancy to an inner ideal. This is the supreme test of character, whether you can hold to your purpose when there is no encouragement, no confirmation from outside, but only your own inner resources. The lack of outward signs of progress does not mean that you are wrong, or that the world is wrong. Rather than resenting the walls, concentrate on the life and growth within them. Do not place too much value on words. They will not provide you with a way out. Neither conversation nor argument, nor your own reasoning and theorizing. Words alone are only circulating ideas. They lack the real personal connection that would make them trustworthy. Image. Lake without water, confined. A noble one carries out the mandate, fulfills her aspiration. The lake water has all drained away into the stream below. Where there might have been a sparkling center of vitality, communication, and exchange, there is no water left, no energy for communication. Even in such straits, a noble one is still active. The lake water drained downward and inward, merging with the stream in a single strong current. In the same way, a noble one lets her mandate, what she is called on to do, flow together with the aspiration of her own heart. The two strengthen one another and create an inner momentum that follows through to fulfillment. Sequence. Being confined follows from Hexagram 46, pushing upward. Pushing upward and not reaching an end is naturally confining. You drive yourself upward, full of optimism, confidently expecting to reach your goal, and then you don't. And so you find yourself feeling trapped, exhausted by the climb, and also profoundly shaken and betrayed by the way things have failed to work out as they should. Pair. Confined forms a pair with Hexagram 48, the well. The well is wholly connected. Confined means meeting together. By its nature, the well is already limitlessly connected, while the confined tree must reach down towards the water table. Reaching inward, you find help. Outwardly, the oppressive walls are unbroken. But what might the inner space open onto? We'll go back and read changing lines 3 and 4 of our primary Hexagram 48, the well. They put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. Each of them has their own general context. Changing line 1, an emerging identity, facing a transition, with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. And line 4, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 3 in Hexagram 48, the well. Okay, I've done so many of these now. Yeah, 3 and 4. Well is dredged, no drinking. This makes my heart ache. It can be used to draw water. With the king's clear vision, people together accept its blessing. The well has been dredged, and now the water can start to flow freely. If only people would see its potential and draw on it. But it's important not to stay trapped in the plane. But it's important not to stay trapped in the pain of if only. The well flows strongly, and all that's needed now is a guiding awareness, strong and bright enough to illuminate its depths. If the leader recognizes the well and makes it plainly visible to all, the situation can be transformed into one of communication and blessing. And changing line 4. Well is being lined, no mistake. A well dug in China's soft silt, is a somewhat fragile thing. The walls could easily crumble into the water. To give it a dependable structure for the future, to ensure there will be a steady flow of clean water, the well needs to be lined. This is a long-term undertaking. It will not be easy. The well may be out of commission altogether for a while. Certainly, there will be no immediate reward for your efforts. But even if it seems like too much to take on, lining your well, becoming more resourceful and making it easier to reach the well's full potential in future is not a mistake. We'll now turn to James Dekorne, who is also a practitioner of the Tao. He has synthesized several I Ching commentaries in one handy place. He calls it the Gnostic Book of Changes. I've given links to his site that has all of it in there. You can even print it off as a PDF if you were so inclined. He calls Hexagram 48 the well also. Other titles might be Welling, Potentialities Fulfilled, The Source, The Deep Psyche, and a quote from D.F. Hook, A Resurrection or Transformation, Generations Coming and Going and the Continuance of Life and Development, Judgment, Leg. Although a town site may be altered, the well remains the same. Its water level neither disappears nor receives any great increase, and the people can draw from it freely. Misfortune ensues if the rope breaks or the bucket is broken before it reaches the water. Wilhelm/Baines, The Well. The town may be changed, but the well cannot be changed. It neither decreases nor increases. They come and go and draw from the well. If one gets down almost to the water and the rope does not go all the way, or the jug breaks, it brings misfortune. Blofeld, The Well. A well. A city may be moved, but not a well. The building of a city depends upon ourselves, but wells cannot be moved to places where nature supplies no water. The implication is that our activities are limited by natural conditions. A well suffers from no decrease and no increase. But often, when the people come to draw water there, the rope is too short or the pitcher gets broken before reaching the water. Misfortune. What we desire is there for the taking, but we may not succeed in getting it. Lu. The well. The city might be moved, but not the well. It neither overflows nor runs dry. People come and go, drawing from the well. The rope nearly reaches the water, but not quite. The jug breaks. Misfortune. Ritsema/Karcher. The well, amending the capital, not amending the well. Without losing, without acquiring. Going, coming, welling, welling. Muddy culmination. Truly not yet the well. Rope, well. Ruining one's pitcher, pitfall. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the life water coming from the depths that everyone may draw on. It emphasizes that maintaining access to this central source is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to Go to the well. Slofnacy, the well. Changing the city, but not changing the well. There's no loss, there's no gain. Going and coming so orderly. When the drying up arrives, one also has not yet drawn from the well, burdening its formed earthenware jug, inauspicious. The image, leg. The image of water over wood forms the well. The superior man comforts the people and stimulates their mutual The superior man comforts the people and stimulates their mutual cooperation. Wilhelm/Baines. Water over wood, the image of the well. Thus the superior man encourages the people at their work and exhorts them to help one another. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes water over wood. The superior man encourages the people with advice and assistance. Lu. Water on wood symbolizes the well. The superior man inspires people to work diligently and advises them to help each other. Ritsima/Karcher. Above wood possessing stream, the well. A Chansu, or chief son or superior person, uses toiling commoners to encourage mutualizing. Cleary 1. There is water above wood, a well. Thus do superior people comfort the people and encourage reciprocity. Wu. There is water above wood, this is the well. Thus the Chunsi, or chief son or superior person, encourages people to work for the good of the public and to help one another for a better life. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Wood penetrates the water and raises it, giving the image of the well, which gives nourishment yet is not exhausted. The dynamic central lines in the 2nd and 5th places indicate that the town site may change, but the well does not. If the rope does not reach the water, the well does not serve its purpose. A broken bucket brings about evil. Leg. The upper trigram represents water, and the lower symbolizes wood, giving the image of a wooden bucket in the water of a well. What is said on this hexagram might be styled lessons to be learned from a well for the proper government of a country. A well is to its users what a government is to its subjects, and if rulers would only apply the ancient precepts of government to the present circumstances, they and their people would benefit greatly. In the judgment, we see the well remaining substantially the same through many changes of society, a dependable source of refreshment to its users. As the fashion of the well remains changeless, so do the principles of human nature and good government. The value of the well depends upon the water being drawn up and used, and so must the principles of good government be implemented. Anthony. This hexagram usually indicates that we have a hidden doubt or fear. We may secretly disbelieve our path. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Amid the changes of life, the only constant is the psyche itself. To be alive is to draw upon its energy. The ego's challenge lies in the correct comprehension of its images. The superior man promotes the harmonious interplay of his thoughts and feelings, works on the integration of his complexes. A well is a universal symbol of a source of inner truth and is often associated with a place that is sacred to the gods. Quote from Genesis 26:25. There he built an altar and invoked the name Yahweh. There he pitched his tent, and there Isaac's servants sank a well. A quote from Cardinal Nicholas of Cusa. From the first well, which is of animal nature and deep, the father drinks, together with his children and cattle. From the second, which is yet deeper and on the very margin of nature, there drink only the children of men, namely those whose reason has awakened and whom we call philosophers. From the third, the deepest of all, drink the sons of the All-Highest, whom we call gods and true theologians. Psychologically interpreted, a well symbolizes the continuously flowing unconscious psyche, the fountain of all awareness. In this hexagram, each line represents a level within the well, by extension suggesting a hierarchy of value in the unconscious. It is important to remember that not all of our inner images, intuitions, or impulses come from the self. Note that lines 1 through 4 all show the water of the well not being utilized for one reason or another. Only in lines 3, 5, and 6 is it actually available for use. A quote from Roberto Asciugoli in Psychosynthesis. In some sensitive individuals, there is an awakening of parapsychological perceptions. They have visions, which they believe to be of exalted beings. They may hear voices or begin to write automatically, accepting the messages at their face value and obeying them unreservedly. The quality of such messages is very varied. Sometimes they contain fine teachings, but they should always be examined with much discrimination and sound judgment, and without being influenced by their uncommon origin or by any claim by their alleged transmitter. No validity should be attributed to the messages containing definite orders and commanding blind obedience, and to those tending to exalt the personality of the recipient. The ego's point of view in relation to the well is from the outside looking in. The insights emerge from beneath the surface of awareness and can be held in the light of consciousness only if one's comprehension is able to contain them. If the bucket breaks, our understanding is unequal to our observation and the insights are lost. One might plausibly find the image for a cancer cure within one's psyche, but without a conscious frame of reference to acknowledge it, it would be unrecognized and lost. Those who closely monitor their dreams know that there is an endless outpouring of strange images within the psyche which might be of inestimable value if only we knew what they referred to. Wilhelm emphasizes the idea of nourishing the people, which psychologically means that the role of the ego is to facilitate the cooperation of intrapsychic forces. Another quote from Roberto Asciugoli in Psychosynthesis. The solution lies rather along the lines of a harmonious integration of all drives into the total personality, first through the proper subordination and coordination, and then through the transformation and sublimation of the excessive or unused quota of energy. We'll now turn to our supporting hexagram, 47, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. James Dekorne calls it oppression. Other titles might be exhaustion, the symbol of repression and confinement, adversity, weariness, confining, entangled, hardship, depression, tiresome restriction, dried up. A quote from D.F. Hook, actions speak louder than words. Judgment, leg. Oppression means that successful progress is still possible. The perseverance of the truly great man brings good fortune without error. But if he relies on words, no one will believe them. Wilhelm/Bain's oppression, success, perseverance. The great man brings about good fortune. No blame. When one has something to say, it is not believed. Blofeld. Adversity leading to success thanks to persistence in a righteous course. Good fortune for the truly great and freedom from error. Though words be spoken, they will not inspire confidence. Great refers to high moral qualities. This hexagram is of evil omen for most people, but success can be won through tremendous persistence in doing what is right. Lu. Oppression, success, persistence, good fortune for the great man, no blame. If one indicates with words only, no one will believe. Ritzema/Karcher, confining, growing, trial, great people significant, without fault, possessing words not trustworthy. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of restriction and distress. It emphasizes that turning inward through accepting enclosure is the adequate way to handle it. Sloughnessy, entangled, receipt. Determination for the great man is auspicious. There is no trouble. There are words that are not trustworthy. Cleary 1, exhaustion develops the righteous. Great people are fortunate and blameless. If one complains, one will not be trusted. Cleary 2, exhausted but coming through successfully. Upright, great people are fortunate and impeccable. Mere words are not believed. Wu, hardship indicates pervasion and perseverance. There will be good fortune for the great man, no error, but their words do not make impressions on people. The image, leg, an abyss beneath the marsh that drains its water, the image of oppression. Thus the superior man will sacrifice his life to attain his purpose. Wilhelm/Baines, there is no water in the lake, the image of exhaustion. Thus the superior man stakes his life on following his will. Blowfold, this hexagram symbolizes a marsh in which no water appears. The superior man risks his life to carry out his will. Lu, the lake with no water symbolizes oppression. The superior man would give up his life to achieve his purpose. Ritsuma/Karcher, marsh without stream, confining. A Chunsu, or chief son or superior person, uses involving fate to release purpose. Cleary 1, a lake with no water is exhausted. Therefore, superior people use life to the full and achieve their aim. When people lack purpose, their path is at an end. Therefore, they use life to the full to achieve their aim. Using life to the full means to get to the end of conditioned life. Achieving one's aim means to achieve the primordial life. Using the temporal to restore the primordial, ending false life and establishing real life, producing being in the midst of nothingness, seeking life within death, getting through an exhausting impasse is like a lake without water, again being filled with water. Cleary 2, developed people accomplish their will by living out their destiny. Developed people only live out their destiny. They do not willingly try to avoid following and accepting it. Being strong and balanced, they are able to be joyful even in danger. This is a will that is up to oneself. Developed people intend to accomplish their will and do not vacillate just because they run into problems. Wu, the marsh has no water. This is hardship. Thus, the Junsi, or chief son or superior person, is prepared to dedicate his life to fulfill his commitments. A marsh devoid of water is like a man deprived of his intellectual pursuits. This is unacceptable to the Junsi, or chief son or superior person. He would rather fight to the end than surrender to idiocy. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. In oppression, we see the dynamic lines covered and obscured by the magnetic. We see the attribute of perilousness in the lower trigram going on to cheerfulness in the upper. Who but the superior man is still able to advance, although straightened by circumstances? The central position of the dynamic lines explains the good fortune of the great man who is firm and correct. As regards speech-making, to be fond of argument or persuasion is the way to be reduced to extremity. Leg. The written Chinese character of oppression presents us with the picture of a tree within an enclosure. A plant, according to Williams, fading for want of room. A tree, according to Tai Tung, not allowed to spread its branches. The image conveys the idea of being straitened and distressed, and the hexagram indicates how skillful management may relieve it. The two central places in the figure are occupied by dynamic lines, but line 2 is confined between 1 and 3, which are magnetic. And line 5, the ruler, as well as 4, his minister, are covered by the magnetic 6th line. These conditions indicate the repression of good men by adversity. The Konghusi editors imply that actions and not words are what are required in the case. Perilousness is the attribute of the lower trigram, and cheerfulness that of the upper. The superior man, no matter how straitened, remains master of himself and pursues his principled intent. The idea of speech-making is found in the upper trigram, one of the attributes of which is the mouth, or speech, as well as pleased satisfaction. The pleading of the oppressed party still tries to make others pleased with him. Literally translated, the first sentence of the image reads, "A marsh with no water is oppression." Chu Hsi says, "The water descending and leaking away, the marsh above will become dry." Anthony, our belief in the ruling power as beneficial is shaken by doubt. This lack of steadfastness is a problem because it obstructs acceptance and its corrective power. We often receive this hexagram when we feel tired. The oppressiveness of doubt exhausts our inner resources. Notes and paraphrases, judgment. With enough will, success can be won. Actions speak louder than words, i.e., the answer lies beyond the realm of reason and logic. Intuition furthers. The superior man stakes everything he's got on his will to succeed. In oppression, we have the image of a dry lake bed. Anyone who has ever seen alkali flats in the desert can easily understand this metaphor for oppression. Almost nothing can live in such an environment. The following hexagram, the well, is an upside-down image of oppression, depicting the opposite case of an unending source of nourishment flowing from deep beneath the surface of the earth. A comparison of these two figures will reveal a great deal about the meaning of each. To be under oppression, then, is to be cut off from all sustenance. Although there is water down below, it is presently inaccessible, and there is no nourishing flow of inner forces to the surface. This is a common, inevitable, and potentially defeating experience for anyone doing serious inner work. A quote from Thomas Cleary in the Taoist I-ming, which we will turn to next. People who try to practice the Tao can all keep steadfast when they are in easy circumstances, but many of them waver in determination when they are in difficult or perilous situations. They may change their minds because of the pressures of making a living, or they may slack in determination due to illness. Their spirits may flag because of old age, or they may stop work because of obstruction by some obsession. All these are cases in which people do not exert the mind of Tao and are hindered by exhaustion, so they ultimately do not attain the Tao. Obviously, this is a dangerous situation, and we are told how to cope with it in the Confucian commentary, where it is observed that the lower trigram of peril goes on to the upper trigram of cheerfulness. These two trigrams are found in reversed sequence in hexagram number 60, restrictive regulations, where a cheerful attitude is described as absolutely essential for the furtherance of the work. The observations made there also apply here, and we see the superior man thereby enabled to advance under conditions that would utterly defeat lesser individuals. This cheerfulness cannot be underestimated. When it comes naturally and isn't forced, it is a gift of grace. Suddenly, one is enabled to face the most incredible hardships with a light heart. It isn't that you no longer care. You still do the best you can to further the work, but you do it with bemused detachment. A quote from C. Ponce in Kabbalah. The one thing the Jewish mystics never lost sight of was the suffering experienced in the arena of the profane. They did not retreat from this suffering, but sought instead to find meaning in it by living it. This is the core of mysticism. The temple in which the sacred marriage takes place is the world. Lines 2 and 5 specifically mention sacrifice, an important concept in the I Ching. Sacrifice is mentioned in lines 17:6, 45:2, 46:2, 46:4, 47.2, 47.5, and 63.5, and in the judgment of Hexagram 20. Note that in each case, sincerity is specifically cited as essential to success. Sincere, 1, marked by genuineness, as a free of dissimulation, not hypocritical, real, true, honest. Very often the sincerity of our sacrifices involves following the dictates of the work, whether we fully understand them or not. Much that takes place in the work is incomprehensible to ego consciousness. For example, changes often occur within the psyche which we only experience as strange dreams. Yet somehow, perhaps months later, we suddenly realize that we no longer act in a certain way or have lost interest in something that used to be of compelling importance. Our sacrifices are necessary for these changes to take place, even if they don't immediately make sense to us. A quote from the Bhagavad Gita: "With sacrifice shall you nourish the gods, and may the gods nourish you. Thus nourishing one another, you will obtain the highest good. The gods, nourished by sacrifice, will bestow on you the enjoyments you desire. He is verily a thief who enjoys the things that they give without offering to them anything in return." Each of Cleary's Taoist and Buddhist commentaries provides valuable insights into how much courage is required to follow the dictates of the work at its more advanced levels. Take comfort that others before you have persevered and survived. Developed people accomplish their will by living out their destiny. We'll now look at our changing lines 3 and 4 of our primary hexagram 48, the well. They put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. And I forgot all of the ones. Changing line 3 has the general context: an emerging identity, facing a transition, with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. And changing line 4 has the general context of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 3 in hexagram 48, the well leg. The third line dynamic shows a well which has been cleared out but is not used. Our hearts are sorry for this, for the water might be drawn out and used. If the king were only intelligent, both he and we might receive the benefit of it. Wilhelm/Baines, the well is cleaned, but no one drinks from it. This is my heart's sorrow, for one might draw from it. If the king were clear-minded, good fortune might be enjoyed in common. Blofeld, the well has been cleaned out. To my heart's sorrow, no one drinks from it, though it could well be used to supply drinking water. If we fail now, it is not for lack of opportunity, but because we do not make use of opportunity. The king is wise, and it is possible for the people to share his good fortune. Lu, the well has been cleared, but still no one drinks from it. This is sorrowful for me, the well, for others might draw from it. If the king is enlightened, he will use it for the benefit of all. Ritzema/Karcher, the well, oozing, not taking in, activating my heart aching, permitting availing of drawing water, kingly brightness, together with acquiescing in one's blessing. Slofnacy, if the well is seeping, do not drink. It makes my heart blocked. It can be used to draw water. The king's brightness together receives its blessing. Clary 1, the well is cleared, but not drunk from. This is the concern of one's heart. It is worth drawing from. When the ruler is enlightened, all receive the blessing. This line refers to one whose self-development is fulfilled. Wu, the well water is clean, but it is not used for drinking. It is a pity. If it were drawn for drinking as it should be, then we all would benefit from it like people enjoying the rain of a perspicacious king. I'm not sure what that word is. Commentary, Confucius/Leg. Even passers-by would be sorry that the well isn't used. A prayer is made that the king were intelligent, for then blessing would be received. Wilhelm/Baines. This is the sorrow of the active people. They beg that the king may be clear-minded in order to attain good fortune. Blofeld. The first sentence implies activities which call forth pity. The second, that we should accept our good fortune. Ritzema/Karcher. Moving, aching indeed, seeking kingly brightness, acquiescing in blessing indeed. Cleary 2. When the well is cleared but not drunk from, travelers are concerned. They seek enlightenment in the king to receive blessings. Because it subdues the basic afflictions of the mind, the well is cleared. But because it does not yet realize essence, it is not drunk from. Here one should seek the aid of the Buddhas. Then one can help oneself and help others. Wu. The people pray that the king may be perspicacious, such that they may all benefit from his reign. Leg. Line 3 is dynamic and in its proper place. It represents an able minister or officer. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man has competence which is being overlooked and unused. Were the chief executive clear-sighted, such a man would have been employed for the benefit of all. Those who know his abilities are deeply saddened to see them go to waste. Wing. You may be overlooking an opportunity that has come your way, or you and your talents may be overlooked by others. This is very unfortunate. If somehow this could be recognized, you and everyone around you would benefit. Anthony. In spite of understanding things correctly, we cling to traditional defenses. The king, our inner self, is not clear-minded enough to trust and draw upon rich inner resources. To ask for help, to trust the unknown, to persevere in allowing ourselves to be led docilely and receptively. Our path is trustworthy. Editor. Leg is unusually terse here. Since this is the only line in the lower trigram that is correctly positioned above its two incorrect companions, it suggests an asset which is ignored to the disadvantage of potential users. Perhaps an insight or connection within the psyche is going unrecognized by conscious awareness. The well is very hierarchical in the progression of its lines, and it is instructive to compare it with hexagram number 50, the sacrificial vessel, the third line of which has a similar meaning to this one. A quote from E.C. Whitmont in The Symbolic Quest. Here we confront a puzzling space-time transcendent dimension of a quasi-absolute knowledge from within, which is not, however, directly accessible to the rational ego. In dreams, the unconscious dimension operates as if it encompassed unknown events outside of space and time, and to the dreamer often enough unknowable, and also subjective problems which lie ahead in the dreamer's development. James Dekorne breaks changing line 3 down into 3 possible succinct definitions, A, B, and C. A, an asset is ignored to the stress of those who might benefit from it. B, unused power is wasted power. C, you don't see an advantage available to you. Changing line 4, we will read that as well. Leg. The fourth line, magnetic, shows a well, the lining of which is well laid. There will be no error. Wilhelm/Baines, the well is being lined, no blame. Blofeld, the well is being tiled, no error. Lu, the well is being rebuilt, no blame. Wu, there is no error in repairing the well. Commentary. Confucius/Leg, the well has been put in good repair. Wilhelm/Baines, the well is being put in working order. Blofeld, for it is under repair. We are likely to suffer a necessary delay, but the situation is hopeful. Ritzema/Karcher, adjusting the well indeed. Clary 2. This means fixing the well. Wu. Because it is functioning. Leg. Line 4 is magnetic, but in its proper place. She is neither to be condemned nor praised. She takes care of herself, but does nothing for others. The cultivation of oneself, which is represented here, is fundamental to the government of others. Wilhelm/Baines. In life, also, there are times when a man must put himself in order. During such a time, he can do nothing for others, but his work is nonetheless valuable, because by enhancing his powers and abilities through inner development, he can accomplish all the more later on. Notes and paraphrases. Sue. The man begins to organize his life and develop his capacities. He is too occupied in this task to help others at the moment. For this, he deserves no blame, since he will be able to contribute more later on. Wing. The time has come to pull back and reorganize your life or reevaluate your goals. This means that you will not be taking an active part in the affairs of others. By putting your life in order, however, you will be able to contribute more fully later on. Editor. Wilhelms, Blofeld, and Liu all translate this line in terms of an incomplete process. The well is undergoing reconstruction. It isn't well laid, it is being well laid. That is, the well is undergoing repairs now and cannot be used until the repairs are completed. Psychologically, an inner transformation is taking place. A quote from M.E. Harding in Psychic Energy. While the hidden life forces are performing their mysterious work of transformation, the rational and willed attitude of the conscious ego can only interfere. It can neither assist nor guide. The libido is withdrawn from it, and it is left high and dry. When this happens, one can do nothing but await the reemergence of the psychic energy, alert to profit by the creative work in which it has been taking part. James Dekorne breaks changing line 4 down into two possible succinct definitions, A and B. A. While inner forces are being transformed, they are unavailable for conscious use. B. The image suggests the idea of putting one's house in order. Something is being transformed. Indeed. We will now read from Liu I-ming's Taoist I Ching that he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. Our primary hexagram 48, the well. The well, changing the village, not changing the well. No loss, no gain. Those who come and go use the well as a well. If the rope does not reach all the way into the well, or if the bucket breaks, that is unfortunate. Explanation. A well is water with a source, which nourishes people inexhaustibly. It has the meaning of nurturance, development. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is water, dangerous, and below is wind, penetrating. Gradually progressing so as to get through danger. Though there is danger, one can get out of it, as wood plunged in water emerges from the water. Therefore, this hexagram is called the well. This hexagram represents accumulation of effort to cultivate virtue. It follows on the previous hexagram, rising. Rising means harmonious progress in practice, a way to increase spiritual virtue. When spiritual virtue increases, and one has accordingly advanced to the state where there is no difficulty or danger, the basis is firm and stable. Free from danger oneself, one can then resolve others' problems. With this, one accumulates achievement and cultivates virtue, using what one has developed oneself to nurture others' development. Genuine within, this genuineness reaches out, so there is benefit to others and no harm to self. This is like a well. Changing the village doesn't change the well. No loss, no gain. Passers-by use the well as a well. When the self-development of practitioners of Tao is sufficient, This is like a well having water in it. To develop others after having developed oneself is like changing the village. To develop others by one's own development is like not changing the well. Development of others must be based on self-development. As is self-development, so is development of others. This is like a well having no loss, no gain. Developing others by self-development, others and self are both nurtured. This is like those who come and go using the well as a well. If one insists on trying to teach people before one has attained the Tao oneself, this is called lacking the basis. Development without the basis lacks inward mastery. Arbitrarily used, it creates confusion, and without having helped anyone else, one first loses oneself. This is like trying to get water from a well, but the rope does not reach all the way, or the well water breaks the bucket. One brings misfortune on oneself. This is because the business of guiding others comes after the completion of the great path. When the path is completed, mind and body are autonomous. Based on previous realization to enlighten others, one can thus benefit others and not harm oneself. Therefore, the main theme in each of the 6 lines is self-development. We'll also read our supporting hexagram 47, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. I-ming calls hexagram 47 exhaustion. Exhaustion develops the righteous. Great people are fortunate and blameless. If one complains, one will not be trusted. Explanation. Exhaustion means reaching an impasse. In the body of the hexagram, below is water, in which one yang is fallen in between 2 yins. Above is lake, in which 1 yin is on top of 2 yangs. Both picture mundanity making inroads on the celestial, so that celestial energy does not come through. Therefore, it is called exhaustion. As for the qualities of the hexagram, from the midst of danger, water, it produces joy, lake. Joy comes out of danger, so it also has the sense of resolving exhaustion, resolving an impasse. This hexagram represents polishing and refining body and mind. It follows on the previous hexagram, gathering. Gathering involves attaining joy by accord, whereby one gathers together the medicines, goes back to the fundamental, and returns to the original. But if one can only gather in ease and cannot gather in difficulty, this is still inability to accord, inability to rejoice. People who try to practice the Tao can all keep steadfast when they are in easy circumstances, but many of them waver in determination when they are in difficult or perilous situations. They may change their minds because of the pressures of making a living, or they may slack in determination due to illness. Their spirits may flag because of old age, or they may stop work because of obstruction by some obsession. All these are cases in which people do not exert the mind of Tao and are hindered by exhaustion, so they ultimately do not attain the Tao. If the mind is not exhausted, even though the body be exhausted, the path is not at an impasse, even though the situation presents an impasse, and one can be joyful even when in difficulty. Then there is a developmental aspect within exhaustion. But even though being able to rejoice even in difficulty is something people cannot fully attain, and there will inevitably be a point of exhaustion, nevertheless, if they become exhausted where they should not, they will not attain development. This is because the developmental aspect of exhaustion lies in being correct. Dealing with exhaustion correctly, growing correctly, while exhausted, one goes along in harmony with the time. Going along in harmony with the time is possible only for great people imbued with the quality of correct balance. Great people, while being very wise, appear to be ignorant. While being very skillful, they appear inept. Random thoughts do not occur to them, and they cannot be influenced by circumstances. Their conduct is unaffected, and they are not concerned with externals. Not only do they find good fortune wherever they also accord with the order of life and are blameless. As for those whose main concern is food and clothing, they are untrustworthy in an impasse. They will take trouble in hopes of fortune, but as soon as things don't go their way, they show it in their words and expressions, complaining against heaven and blaming people. So blame goes along with them. How can this bring about good fortune? Those who deal with exhaustion and impasse rightly, who are able to be joyful even in difficulty, are great people. Those who are untrustworthy in an impasse, who take trouble only to please themselves, are petty people. It may be the same trouble and the same joy, but the distinction lies in how great people and petty people relate to the trouble and the joy. So those who practice the Tao should by all means maintain rectitude when exhausted and at an impasse. We will now go back and read our changing lines 3 and 4 of our primary hexagram 48, the well. They put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They take precedence over all other elements. Changing line 3 has the general context of an emerging identity facing a transition with fear or desire, resolution or indecision. And changing line 4 has the general context of the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 3 of hexagram 48, the well. Changing line 3. The well is cleared, but not drunk from. This is the concern of one's heart. It is worth drawing from. When the ruler is enlightened, all receive the blessing. Explanation. Having progressed to the top of the lower position, this is when one's own development is accomplished and one can thus develop others. However, there is difficulty at hand. If one does not meet people who can understand, this poses a limitation and makes development impossible. This is like when a well is clear, but people do not drink from it. However, even though there is no one to drink from it, nevertheless, when spiritual virtues are highly developed, people who observe them are subtly influenced. This is why it is the concern of one's heart. Why is it a concern? Because it is worth drawing from. It is to be hoped that there are rulers or powerful people with clear eyes who will trust and employ the enlightened. Then everyone will have a spiritual model and will receive blessings without end. This line refers to one whose self-development is fulfilled. Changing line 4 of hexagram 48, the well. The well is tiled without fault. Explanation. In the state of danger, water, though one lack the power to develop others, it is fortunate if one remains upright even in weakness and knows how to develop oneself. This is like a well being tiled to prevent danger, without damage inside or loss outside, so no one can fall in. This refers to one capable of self-development. We will now read a randomly card-drawn chapter from the Tao Te Ching to close things off. I think I might try to start summing things up. So, main
primary hexagram 48, the well, shows being able to access something that never changes. I'd probably call it, after all of that, the self or essence or the Tao. Our supporting hexagram, which puts it in a broader context, is exhaustion, meaning showing the image of a tree being surrounded by walls and cut off from a source of nourishment, such as a well might provide, since it's an upside down version of hexagram 48, the well. So there is something that we can draw from, that we all have access to. And yet, if we feel that we are alone and disconnected from the source, that prevents us from seeing the well that we have access to at all times. And changing lines, a well has been dug and it is available for use. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So if what has been built is taken advantage of, great development is possible. And changing line 4 indicates something being worked on, the well being in development, and thus not at the time being accessible, but that the questioner is capable of self-development and at this time is in development of self in order to, in the future, potentially develop others. Chapter 71 of the Tao Te Ching we will read. My copy is translated by Jia Fu Fang in Jane English. And it's also got really cool pictures in it. 71 of the Tao Te Ching. That is the chapter 71. Knowing ignorance is strength. Ignoring knowledge is sickness. If one is sick of sickness, then one is not sick. The sage is not sick because he is sick of sickness. Therefore, he is not sick.